Hi everyone, welcome to another Ledgeby Partners webinar. Today, our Director of Marketing, Chad Follett, will be walking you through the 10 steps to a successful CRM implementation. Before I let him dive in, however, I do have some housekeeping notes to cover, so sit back, relax, start eating your lunch, whatever you please. I promise I'll be quick. Before I continue, I'd like to introduce myself. I'm Julia Flaherty, Digital Marketing Specialist at Ledgeby Partners, and would love to also introduce our business to those joining us for the first time. Ledgeview is a business and technology consulting firm who partners with organizations to transform sales, marketing, and customer service operations and processes that are supported by core technologies, including customer relationship management, CRM, and marketing automation. Our certified experts provide strategic business advice, process definition, and technology solutions that advance business processes forward, helping you to achieve your unique business goals. For those of you that have been on our webinars before, I want to say welcome back. And for all of you newbies, thanks for joining us for the first time. We're excited to see you back for more. Today, we're going to be taking up about a half hour of your time. This webinar is being recorded and will be available on demand after the live session. All of you will receive a follow-up email after it's complete with a link to access this presentation. So if you haven't already, do add at ledgebypartners.com to your safe senders list to ensure you get the email. And if you happen to find any mail from us in your spam folder, mark it as not spam. We encourage you to share this within your company and professional networks. And to ensure the best audio quality, we do have all of you on listen-only mode, but if you have a question or comment, go ahead and submit those in the question pane of your GoToWebinar control panel, and we'll follow up with you afterwards. After this webinar, I encourage you to go to ledgebypartners.com and explore our vast resource library, which we'll cover later in the webinar. We do have many tips, pieces of insight, and offerings to share with you, from over 1,000 blogs to about 50 expert ebooks to almost 100 infographics and more. There's something for any niche or job function to learn from. With all of that in mind, I'm excited to introduce today's presenter. Chad will be providing the 10 steps to a successful CRM implementation. He is our Director of Marketing here at Ledgeby Partners and does a great job of leading our team into what's new in the digital landscape. He's one of the most positive people I know, and I'm sure you'll see his passion and energy shine through in today's presentation. So now that you know more about him, it's time to hand things over. Welcome, Chad.
Thank you, Julia, for that warm welcome. I know we have all walks of life on today's webinar. Some of you that already have CRM in place and I'm sure are looking for tips on implementing new features or upgrading your platform in the future. Perhaps looking for validation that when you launch CRM, you kind of hit on all the right steps. I know for others, they're in the process of an implementation and I'm sure have a CRM on their radar and want to ensure success from the get-go. I've been around CRM solutions for nearly 20 years. I'm really kind of dating myself, but they include Microsoft Dynamics, Salesforce, Act, HubSpot, and many others. And while these tools differ in look and functionality, one thing that holds true for every single one of them is that if the implementation is not a success, user adoption is definitely affected and ultimately dooms these solutions that companies are investing in. And the blame? Well, it unfairly goes to the product. I mean, I've heard users time and time again that say, Salesforce sucks, or Microsoft Dynamics is hard to use, so I just don't use it. Today, let's save these powerful CRM tools from unfair harassment and blame and work on setting the solution and our users up for success from the start with these 10 steps to a successful CRM implementation. Now, as Julia mentioned, we only have 30 minutes today, so we're going to touch on each of these at a pretty high level. In fact, each step could be its own deep dive webinar. Today, we'll lay out what we feel are 10 important steps to a successful CRM implementation. As we move through these 10 steps, keep in mind that in order to have a successful project, that you don't have to absolutely master all these to the degree that we describe, but that in each step, they should have some kind of presence in your project. As I said, many of these could have their own dedicated webinar, and we could go into a lot more detail. It's also important to note that these aren't the only steps that can be taken, but just 10 of the top ones that we encounter. Now, depending on your culture, size of project and rollout, each of these steps will vary on its depth and importance. We're not necessarily presenting these in the order of importance, but more of a logical flow of how they may happen during a project. We hope that at the end you'll leave the webinar with some good ideas and possibly some action items that you can take back to your office that will improve your implementation. Of the 10 steps, my opinion is that the 10th one, user adoption, is the most important because frankly, without it, all the others really don't matter. As we go through these steps, you'll be able to draw conclusions that each one directly or indirectly, if done properly, feeds user adoption. Although a lot of what we're talking about speaks directly to the first-time core implementations, all these steps can be applied to phase 2, phase 3, rollouts of new functionality or upgrades, such as moving from an on-premise solution to the cloud. So hope you got your coffee topped off. We're going to get rolling. Out of the gate, it all comes down to achieving your goals. And we do that from the beginning by defining the vision of what we want to accomplish by implementing CRM. Defining your vision involves setting the stage and getting prepared for all the other steps. This one should be done first. Even though I did previously state that these don't need to be done in order, we're presenting them. You need to have an idea of what your current state is and your vision for your future state. And with a good understanding of that, you will then know the why, like why we're implementing CRM. And it's so important to understand the what. What problems are we addressing? What are your business drivers? For example, you might have too many systems and no consistent data. So you're looking to achieve system consolidation and data standardization. Maybe your current methods are too time-consuming to get data, or there's a perception that you don't even have the data. So you're looking for better analytics and business intelligence. Too many pockets of people doing the same thing, but doing it differently with no insight into other parts of the company. So you're looking for improved collaboration. Or maybe you've pinpointed glaring inefficiencies within your people, your departments, or your processes. As an example, recent implementation, we worked on had a business driver define that they wanted to see a more accurate sales forecast. The current process took about a week at the end of every month to prepare a forecast that involved manual data entries and multiple spreadsheets. So at any point in the month, there was no real clear picture of where things were at. Now, I'm sure many of us have experienced similar challenges and have been ecstatic when those dreadful tasks of putting it all together became streamlined and much more efficient. A crucial point here is that you should not be focused at all on the technology, but 100% focused on your business needs and your business problems. You may or may not know what the technology even is at this point. And if you don't concern yourself with it. If you do know, do this step independent of that system and any known features. If you focus on the technology and what it can do for you, you're going to miss out. Ask yourself, what is our CRM strategy? Once you start to view CRM as a strategy and not just a database, you've taken a step in the right direction. Now, the importance of step one is to provide a North Star to guide you to all the other steps. We all know it can be easy to get off track. In these moments, you can easily get back on track by realigning with your vision, which is what we are discussing and spending time on. Does it relate to our vision? If you have no clear vision, there's nothing to align to. All the other steps should be directly related to that why. So remember to stay aligned. Now, we'll talk more about process in just a few minutes, but we encourage you to seek out resources that can assist you and be your North Star. No need to reinvent the wheel. Yeah, I'm going to give a plug for several resources on ledyoupartners.com website that focus on sales process, but also other key areas like marketing, customer service, user adoption, and a whole lot more. And that's the perfect lead-in for our second step. As you're looking at implementing a CRM system, selecting a partner for your project is a critical step in that project. Depending on your solution, many companies try to save money out of the chute by doing it themselves. This is definitely a risky move depending on your internal resources, your culture, and your capabilities. When looking for a CRM partner, don't underestimate the evaluation period to find a good fit, not only for your project, but a partner that fits your organizational culture. While you may choose to engage in a project on your own, Partnering with a consulting company that is well versed in CRM implementations typically results in a faster implementation with a higher degree of success. Since today's focus is on best practices for a successful implementation, we'll focus this slide on choosing a successful CRM implementation partner. To do this, you first need to understand why you need a partner by defining your project needs. Do you need help with selecting the best CRM technology for your company? Or maybe you already know what your technology you're going to use, such as Dynamics or Salesforce, and you're ready to jump into design and implementation. Or maybe training will be a critical need for your company. Scoping out beforehand what you want a partner to do will help with the next step of defining your partner selection criteria. Here you want to decide what's important to you. On the surface, this may seem obvious, and most people would say, well, I want someone with CRM experience. It's a good start, but what about business focus? Does the partner focus on CRM implementations only, or are they a full-fledged technology company? Do they have business expertise, especially when it comes to process development, in addition to technology experience? Do they have experience in your particular industry? What is the size of the firm, and does it match the resources that you require? What will your availability be to the project team and to the developer resources? How many CRM projects have they completed? What are their project fees and their timelines? Do they typically try to use out-of-the-box CRM functionality, or do they lean more on custom development work? This one might not have made your initial list, but it's an important one to note. We've encountered many people very happy with full custom development work, and many people unhappy that a lot of the out-of-the-box functionality was not used and they were taking down a path of custom work instead. Will this partner be a cultural fit for your organization? Will you and your team like working with them? Once you have your list set, you want to prioritize this criteria and keep them handy when you're evaluating your partners. You will want to interview your potential partners. Ask for references and make follow-up phone calls. Treat it like you would a job interview. You'll be spending a good amount of time with this partner, so you want to get the inside scoop on what it's like to work with them from the perspective of your peers. Did they deliver on time? Was it on budget? Did they simply deliver what was communicated? Or did they act as a true business partner and make sure requirements that you have actually meet your goals? And did they offer up additional suggestions that will create efficiencies, drive user adoption? You want to make that right call up front. After you make your selection, you want to make sure you define and articulate expectations to that partner in writing. And be extremely clear about these, that you're both on the same page and in agreement. Set the stage for the project up front. Define to them what would make this a successful project. And this is where you'll develop your internal project team. We start with the purpose of the team. The project team fosters buy-in from the top down, and you must have buy-in from the top down. This leads to success and is critical to user adoption. It makes this project visible in the organization. You want to make sure that members of your team represent all applicable areas of the company. Now, we know your company is made up of many moving parts. Therefore, you need a team adequately represent all the associated moving parts. It might be sales, marketing, customer service, operations, etc. Having a project team that represents these multiple areas that will be impacted by CRM will allow you to gather a better understanding of the requirements. And with each team having involvement, it's going to help drive project success. Even though you may have representation from multiple departments, the team will serve different purposes at various points in the project. From gathering your design requirements, testing, rollout and go live, and the continued enhancements post go live. The size of your team is going to vary based on the size of your company, your organizational structure, and definitely your culture. Also, the scope of the implementation or the size of the project can have an impact on the size and the makeup of your project team. Within your project team, you'll need to assign project roles. Make sure your team has a wide range of knowledge, experience, aptitude, and attitude. All characteristics that will help you figure out that right number for the team. Now, here's a few roles that may be part of your project team. You've got your steering committee. This group helps define the vision and the goals. Now, they may not be involved day to day or hands-on with the project. I mentioned the executive sponsors. These are your key stakeholders, and they're going to provide that high-level visibility to be a success driver. Having that top-down support is just so important for the success of your project, and it's especially true when it comes to CRM. Your project manager, your champion, or your team captain, whatever you want to call them, they're responsible for owning the project and seeing it to completion. Make your choice carefully on this role. You need someone who can not only keep the project on track, but be a voice to inspire high user adoption across the entire company. Your subject matter experts need to be familiar with any integrations and business processes you'll be incorporating with CRM. These may be people you know that know the process and can help enhance it and work with other tools that you either want to phase out or integrate with CRM. And don't forget your cross-functional, your cross-department users. This is huge. They need to use the system, so don't exclude them. They are your true champions. Get them involved early. Make them love the system before it even goes live, and you're going to reap the benefits. And of course, we got IT. It doesn't matter if you're deploying on-prem or online, IT needs a seat at the table and be a contributing member of the team. Now, it's easy to get off track before you even start with your project team. Here's a few common mistakes that we've seen. Not having a team that's made up of those who represent the business. Many companies try to run a lean, small project team or have it fall on just one person. This can feed to lower user adoption and really create a lack of visibility in the company that you're even implementing a CRM solution. On the flip side, some companies include everyone. Too many players and no coach. Ultimately, what happens is that there's no ownership of the project and kind of has a hazy direction. Each person thinks another one's getting things done, and at the end, either they don't get done or they get done at a slow pace. Companies can also get too high IT heavy on these projects. Now, I think all of us non-IT folks have a kind of a true love-hate of IT. We love them because they bring us the best laptops and devices, and frankly, when things go south, we need them and they know it. But CRM is customer relationship management and should be led by sales, marketing, or customer service, kind of depending on who's going to be leading the system. Now, many, many moons ago, back in the early 2000s, really dating myself, I remember Microsoft decided to get into the CRM game. Now, this is pre-Dynamics. And my company at that time had a very outdated on-premise CRM solution that was what it felt like 100 versions behind. Well, our IT director was a Microsoft whiz, or so he told everyone. Sales was awarded with a new CRM solution, but IT would take care of setting it up. Woohoo! In a total silo, I should say he, built it. And to say it fell flat was a total understatement. Custom this and custom that. But user-friendly, it was not. In fact, it took over 10 clicks just for a sales rep to enter a note or an activity from when they had a conversation with a customer or prospect. After that, we pulled the pin on that solution and went with another solution, but this time had sales and marketing lead the charge, and user adoption was at an all-time high. We also see situations where executive sponsors are micromanaging, which makes other team members kind of resistant to offer ideas or even take the lead. And finally, project teams that consist of team members that have no time to dedicate to a project this size. When that happens, the project may get rushed, or the project may be incomplete, or ultimately may cost more and be less effective than hoped and potentially fail. Now, one of the key points we're going to talk about in the next slide is tips in the importance of establishing your game plan. To avoid project delays or low user adoption, our experiences suggest that you start strong by clearly defining your project scope, and then hold a kickoff or several kickoff meetings, depending on the size of your project, to set a game plan for your project. During this meeting, clearly state the objectives of the product. You know, the who, what, why, when, and where. Start building the excitement for your team and clearly state expectations for team involvement. Now, be clear that internal resources will be needed for the project, and this includes both people and their time. And be realistic about how much time people may need to dedicate to this project. Now, to kind of use a baseball metaphor, you want to go for the base hits versus a home run. When defining your project scope, it will be so tempting to go for that big home run project. But it's important to see the value in a base hit or smaller projects that will ultimately lead you to scoring with your users. Identify some of those quick wins. While they may not be as exciting, cumulatively they are impactful. In defining your project scope, set your project milestones and prioritize your initiatives. Even on the CRM roadmaps for solutions like Microsoft Dynamics 365 and Salesforce, it's oftentimes the small enhancements, ones that cause challenges for users for years, that are the most celebrated and welcomed. You want to be sure you set a project timeline and stick to it. Be dedicated to getting the project done on time, on budget, and within scope. If the project extends too long, it'll certainly jeopardize user adoption. You're better to launch phase projects than extend the project too long. It is so easy to get excited about CRM and all the things it can accomplish. It'll produce scope creep on your project. Stay on track and make note of those wish list items. And after launch, see which phase they may fit into. You want to have an effective communication internally with your team and externally with your partner. Now, we're going to talk about this more in a few minutes, but communication will be a key factor in the success of your project. To keep your plan in check, work with your CRM partner by communicating the needs and responding to their requests as quickly as possible. We see so many projects fall behind due to lack of communication and response by customers. This is why you also need to be realistic with the workload and dedicate resources to it, something we cannot stress enough. You have your vision, your partner, your team, and your plan. Now we need to determine what CRM is going to actually do in order to accomplish these goals. It's time to specify your requirements. Before you can start to add fields, create workflows, and input data, you need to design your CRM. This is where your partner can hold their weight in gold. They are the experts, and frankly, you're probably not. Based on your goals, your industry, a great CRM partner will be able to guide you as you determine the right requirements for your organization. Starting with, what are your current processes? Start by documenting a list of all your current processes. Now, this list can be long, but think about things like your sales process, your quoting process or pricing approvals, maybe lead to opportunity, customer service cases, etc. This is also an opportunity for you to evaluate these processes. Are they proven and solid? Are they broken or only partially followed? Do we need to tweak or completely redevelop these processes? Now is the time to make sure your processes can set your technology up for success. And you don't need to wait until you're thinking about CRM to do this. You can and you should document all your processes early and often. Then think about other challenges your users are experiencing. Identify where those problems are. Which are taking too much time? Which do users complain about or simply just not do? Which don't really add value to your organization? Are there ones that seem inefficient or really manual? Are they too complex? Do they just don't make sense? I know we've all heard that one before. And what are the most important or the most crucial? This will give you a pecking order and help you identify which areas are good for a phase 1, a 2, or 3 rollout, and if they make sense to include at all. And as I've stated before, don't focus on the technology to guide you. It shouldn't define your process. Your business needs should. Once the process or need is defined, analyze if standard functionality can address the need. If not, then ask, can the process or need be modified and still adequately address the need? If not, then specify a customization. Now, this flowchart helps identify the process of defining the need or requirement and if we need to create a change in our process or if we need to specify a system customization. You want to prioritize, and then prioritize, and then prioritize. Don't do it all at once. Now, I've mentioned it a few times about launching CRM in phases. I mentioned it multiple times for a reason. Rome wasn't built in a day, and neither is your CRM. Get some quick wins now. Prioritize what makes sense, and push those that don't to later phases. It's okay if you don't roll out 1,000 new features at once. Doing them over time will keep users excited, and it's going to lead to higher user adoption. And don't forget about mobile. Detail out your user's experience. Who needs it? How will they use it? How could they use it? It could be a phase 1, but likely a phase 2 or phase 3 project. Don't just offer mobile to offer it or because it's available. Really think about the day-to-day experiences that your users need to have mobile. Is it the ability to view records, edit records, enter transactions or call notes? Do they need offline access? Are they creating opportunities or quotes on their phones? And the list can really go on and on. From a mobile device, there's amazing things that can happen. Mobile on its own is its own animal, and it should be treated as such. It's not just an add-on, but it's its own project, and you need to give careful consideration of that. Now you've got your requirements in line. It's time to deal with your data, both from a migration and an integration standpoint. As a marketer, keeping your data clean is one of the hardest challenges we all have. It's so easy for it to get away from you. When it comes to CRM and your data, you need to think about what you want to migrate from a legacy system or even spreadsheets into your new CRM. This is your chance to start with a clean slate, so we need to ask ourselves, how clean is our data? Most companies are going to require some sort of data cleanup. Don't underestimate your effort here. This can be a task that should be started now, regardless of your CRM stage. Involve the subject matter experts who are knowledgeable about that data coming from those systems. And don't underestimate the amount of work this can be or the time it'll take. If you're using a legacy system, it's good to know that you're going to have access to the system after the launch should you need to reference any data that didn't come over. As a project manager, you want to be involved in this. It can get complex and confusing, but you want to stay involved. If you don't understand, ask questions. Be sure you do understand, especially when approving the final data maps and the overall plan. If it's done wrong, it can get costly to go back and kind of redo or do a partial migration. Make sure to spend ample time reviewing and validating the test migration. You don't want to rush this step. And for data integration, what does that even mean? What exactly are you integrating? What are the triggers that need to occur between the systems? If you're planning to integrate systems with your CRM, such as a back office solution or marketing automation, for example, make sure it adds business value, that it adds accuracy, that it adds visibility, or that maybe it creates efficiencies. Don't just integrate to integrate. Not all systems need to connect to your CRM. And just like data migration, with integration, be involved in this. Again, it can get complex and confusing, but make sure you understand it from the start, and especially that when you're approving the final data maps and the overall plan for each integration. Let's just summarize dealing with your data because it's so important. Know what you're getting involved in, and don't underestimate the time or the resources that you need to accomplish this task. Shifting to something a lot more fun, we need to make sure we develop our communication plan, which goes way beyond sending a few emails. It's critical to have a team communication plan during the project and post-project. During your project, it will be important to communicate up, down, and out. And what do I mean by that? Communicate up. Communicate to your project sponsors, executives, and management team. To this group, you want to provide a high-level scope of the project, communicate project milestones, project timelines, and where you're at in regards to the project budget. This group may not want in details of the project, but they want to know how to make the company better. Manager meetings are a great place to share this information. Ask if you can get added to the agenda during the course of the project and give a 5-minute update at each meeting. Communicate down. Hold and communicate regular project updates to the people that will be the day-to-day users of the system. Hold project design departmental meetings. Involve them in the process and identify their pain points. Knowing that the system will help them in their day-to-day will help their user adoption in the long run. And communicate out. Have and maintain regular communication with your implementation partner. Now, during projects that we work on, we speak to customers on a many times basis, daily, weekly. It's important to not only assume that the consultant knows every intricate detail of your business. It's better to over-communicate than under-communicate to your partner. Communication before, during, and after implementation. You want to communicate to your teams before the project kicks off. This can be done with pre-planning meetings, project update emails, or even hosting a project kickoff party to engage the team. During the project, communication will be extremely important. One of the communication tactics that we have used was developing a project newsletter that was sent out twice per month. The project newsletter included pre-training tips, case studies of other companies successfully using CRM, process communication to define what areas of the business or the process that were going to be impacted by the implementation. And of course, after the project launches, it's also important to maintain consistent communication because after all, CRM is never done, right? The area of documentation may be overlooked during your project, and it's one of the that takes a good amount of time to develop, but it's going to help you with further communicating your team as well as onboarding new teammates. During the course of a CRM implementation, you're most likely going to define new ways of doing processes or activities with your organization. And we touched on this at the start of the webinar. These new processes should be documented as to keep your team on the same page. Ideally, you want to create a standard operating procedure to help combat this. SOPs can help you define and document process changes within the CRM implementation, and you can share this with CRM users. SOPs are the who, what, when, and why of your processes. I'll admit that these can take a good amount of time to create. However, an SOP or a playbook will help you ease the onboarding process of new members of a department like sales, marketing, customer service to ensure that they do things the right way from the start. It can assist with ongoing training and help to ensure consistency in your data entry. Have a conversation with your CRM partner on what will and will not be documented during the project, and then fill in any gaps. Create documentation throughout the project. You don't want to wait till the end of the project as it's going to become too overwhelming to accomplish. And ensure that your documentation is in the same format throughout for consistency. Once it's created, make sure you have a plan for your distribution and keeping the documents current, especially as you evolve your CRM system over time. Who's going to own that process? So many times we see all this time and effort placed to documentation, and it only falls short because those documents lay dormant and they don't get updated or even accessed. And after all that work migrating your data, integrating your systems, and documenting your process, you want to make sure you do not let your efforts go undone. You need to keep moving forward. You don't want to launch, train, and be done. Hopefully your vision is a long-term vision with multiple phases. Keep CRM top of mind. Always have a next phase planned out. And if you happen to be on premise with your solution, make it part of your budget and business plan to upgrade to the newest versions as they're released. If you do not, it is so easy to fall behind and you're going to be missing out on key functionality, and ultimately user adoption will suffer. We encounter so many CRM users who voice their frustrations because they're so far behind on their CRM versions. If you're part of this online CRM world, many solutions these days will automatically upgrade your org when they roll out new enhancements. This is a great time to hold lunch and learns to showcase new features, send communications to users on what's coming. You can create a simple portal or a form or even an email that users can submit enhancement suggestions. Make sure you pay attention to these. Now, some of these are not going to make business sense, but many of the greatest features have come from ideas from everyday users. And we encourage you to get involved in user groups, either in person or online in communities. Many top solutions have these communities where users and admins can bounce ideas off each other and use each other as resources and solve complex challenges. Take advantage of these resources that are out there from a training and a user adoption perspective. Now, during this presentation, we alluded to the need for user adoption at many stages of your project. In fact, I think I mentioned it at every single step. So here we are at the end of the webinar listing it as number 10, but this easily could take the number 1 spot. We cannot underestimate how vital user adoption will be to your project. In fact, at an upcoming Microsoft Dynamics User Group conference, I'm presenting an in-person session dedicated solely to user adoption. So how can you build your fan base and get your team excited about the project? Communicate the big picture and the business value. What's in it for them? How will it make their job easier? Clearly define why we're doing this and how this is going to implementation be good for the company. It's easy. It's very important to define this and communicate this at every stage of the project. You want to involve your team in the planning and the process design. Change is hard for many, but involving people in the project before you go live will help them be more comfortable with the change. Do this by involving them in the process design planning and communicating with them regularly. You want to show them how it's going to help their team succeed. Be their cheerleader. Depending on the size of your project, it will sometimes be hard to maintain the momentum. It will be important to keep your team engaged and excited throughout. Your project champions can help in this area as well. And you want to train and retrain the team. When it comes to the part of the project that you are ready to train your teams, ideally training should be hands-on training with all users having their own computer or device. Create real-world scenarios for them or walk through the system so they can see how it will relate to their day-to-day. Once training has been concluded, it's easy to assume that everyone is comfortable with the system. Oftentimes, people need to hear things more than once before they grasp the end goal. Continue nurturing the users after training and go live. Check in with them regularly and welcome their feedback and suggestions. Remember to train them when new system upgrades come out or you change processes. And oh yeah, one of the most forgotten training aspects is new employees. You go through all these steps to ensure that your CRM implementation is perfect, your training was spectacular, but then life happens and you flow back into the hustle and bustle of it all. When new team members start, make sure you give them the same dedication and provide the same excitement around CRM. And that's going to make them champions from the start. And if you're looking for ideas around user adoption, there's a lot of options on the web today, including at ledgeviewpartners.com. In fact, we created an entire series of user adoption ebooks and infographics that'll take you from pre-rollout to the day of, all the way down the road when you need to light a fire and get your users excited again. I think we got 5 ebooks in all and about a dozen infographics. It's got some great tips, and make sure you take advantage of all those. Well, there you are. 10 steps that will help you pave the way to a successful CRM implementation. As I stated, we could have gone into a deep dive on every single topic, and watch for more webinars and content to come to that in the future. Now, with that, if you have questions around CRM, I'm available, and I'm surrounded by a team of people that are even more knowledgeable and passionate about CRM than I am. And we'd love to help you out and succeed with CRM. So thank you so much for spending some time with me today. And Julia, I'm going to turn it back over to you.
All right, thank you for those 10 steps, Chad. I'm sure you've helped many on today's call feel more confident and prepared for their CRM implementations. Follow our website to stay up to date with what's new in marketing, sales, customer service, and CRM. Our goal is to keep you as up to date as possible, and we love doing it. We'll be back with more webinars in October and beyond. If you are interested or are already signed up, you can also see us at User Group Summit North America, like Chad mentioned. It's one of the best CRM conferences of the year, at booth number 1521 in Orlando, Florida. So if you've yet to register and want to learn more, you can take advantage of our savings code, PRP LedgeView. You can learn more about the summit and get the help you need convincing your boss to let you go at ledgeviewpartners.com/usergroupsummit. On the screen there, you'll also see more resources you can take advantage of. Lots of different topics covered and different content types. So whatever your learning style is, you'll surely benefit from something. Before you log off, as a reminder, if you missed it in my intro, we did record today's presentation, and we'll be sending you all a link to access this webinar on demand. You can share that within your professional networks, and that email will be coming from LedgeView Partners. With any questions you may have that you didn't get to ask during today's presentation, reach out to us via email at contactus@ledgeviewpartners.com. All right, that's it for today, everyone. We look forward to engaging with you at our events via our website, social media, email, and more. Have a terrific day.